Good evening and welcome to the July 8th, 2024 meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of Chatham. My name is Catherine Halpern. I'm Chair of the Planning Board of the Town of Chatham, and this meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format, both in person and remotely, and I'll be reading you a few points in just a moment about that. Also, please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. I do need to ask if anyone else is recording the meeting. It's all right to record it, but you need to notify the chair. I'll see there's no hands raised on the remote connection, so we'll go ahead. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law GL 30A-20 until March 31st, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Planning Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, and the conference ID number is 320-467-592#. You may also join the meeting online using Microsoft Teams through the link that is in the agenda that's posted on the town website. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, formerly Channel 18, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and as I mentioned, we'll post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. So first, let's start with a roll call of our board members. Art Spru.
Art Spru, present.
Warren Chain.
Warren Chain, present.
Bob Wirtschafter.
Bob Wirtschafter, present.
Frank Scherer.
Frank Scherer, present.
Bob Dubus.
Bob Dubus, present.
And Charlene Greenhalgh.
Charlene Greenhalgh, present.
Okay, great, thank you. And then I will ask, are there any board members who need to recuse themselves from any matter on tonight's agenda? There being none, let's go to our first agenda item, which is the minutes from our June 10th, 2024 meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, amendments, edits? If there are none, may I have a motion to approve?
I move that we
Madam Chair?
accept. Go ahead, Charlene. It's your job.
So Bob,
I will second.
thank you. All right. So Art, you were absent, so you would abstain.
I'll abstain.
Warren Chain,
Warren Chain.
Bob Wirtschafter,
Bob Wirtschafter, approved.
Frank Scherer,
Frank Scherer, approved.
Bob Dubus,
Bob Dubus, approve.
Charlene Greenhalgh,
Charlene Greenhalgh, approved.
and this is Catherine Halpern. I also approve the minutes from June 10th, 2024. Next item on our agenda is a site plan review for 403 Main Street, and this is a change of use. And we have Mr. Riley, who's representing the owners of the property.
Actually, I'm representing the tenant.
The tenant, all right.
tenant, that's
So
okay.
please go ahead, Mr. Riley.
Thank you. So, William Riley, I represent Cheryl Murray, who's the owner of La Bella. And we submitted a floor plan showing the uses to which the building's going to be made. The site plan was actually an antique we borrowed from Terry Eldridge, 1983. I discussed the site plan with Katie this afternoon, and there is paving between the building and Main Street, and there is a catch basin, although it's not shown on this plan.
I think it's on the northeast corner of the property. Is that correct? Or
I believe
yeah.
so, right.
Okay, great.
And so we're making no exterior changes at all. This is just one business left, and this is a new business moving in. So I'm not certain that there are any real issues to discuss. I spoke with the proprietor of the business, and they believe that there's more of a problem with strangers parking in the parking lot and then going off and shopping on Main Street. So I gave her the name of a sign company, so she could have some signs made up to keep that from happening. Her staff parks remotely and either walks to work or gets rides in, so that none of her staff is actually parking on the property. So we don't think parking is going to be an issue. And other than that, it's just, it's great to have this facility in Chatham providing the services that, people like me need to keep ourselves.
The facial room?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah, I could do one of those with you, Bill.
yeah.
You have to turn on
Sorry.
your mic.
So I really didn't want too many people to hear that. So I'm gonna just blame that,
Okay,
Anyway, so I think it's a good use. I don't think there's any issues
okay.
that would require the planning board to make any changes.
Okay, so I just mentioned it's a change of use from professional office with 2 apartments incidental to commercial use to personal and household service, and 2 apartments incidental to commercial use. That's the official change of use. However, in the interim, I understand from my conversations with Katie this afternoon that it went from professional office to retail use, but that particular change of use was never formally approved. So it's officially classified as a professional office, changing now to personal and household service. And as Mr. Riley mentioned about the parking, the site currently contains 16 paved spaces, and which is adequate for the existing and proposed uses on the site. That's in your staff report. Then just to go to the referral comments, no comment from Public Works, no approval from Zoning Board of Appeals is required, no comment from Police. The Health Department has no concerns. Historic Business District Commission, the commission approved the ground sign for La Bella Skincare. And is that IV Lounge? Is that,
I'm sorry, what?
it says IV Lounge on May 15th, 2024. And no, it's out of the jurisdiction of the Airport Commission. So that's just a summary of the external referrals. So let's just go to questions and comments from board members. We'll start with Art.
Yes, Katie, I just wanted to clarify the requirements for parking. Is it 9 spaces plus the 4? Is that the requirement is 13?
Yes, the requirement should be 13.
13. That's what I thought, okay. Because I saw 11 on the plan, which, again, it dates back to the previous space.
What's this?
I know that there's 8 in the front and there the two areas in the back.
Right.
They don't really identify parking spaces, but there's clearly at least 5 there. So it covers, the 13 is covered. So I just wanted to clarify that we're dealing with 13 spaces is all the requirement is.
Yes, actually, and the parking layout on another plan that I found as I was going through the file actually shows 11 spaces in the front. There's 6 on one side and 5 on another. They're just not delineated.
Got it, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Warren,
I don't have any questions. I think it's a perfectly fine project.
thank you so much. Bob,
I have no questions.
Frank,
No questions.
and Bob Dubus.
this has been before us before, and I think this is a great use of the
Yeah.
property right now.
Yeah, it's gone through a lot of different occupants, so I think this looks to be like it could be a nice, successful business put there. So if the board has no other questions,
Catherine, I don't have any
oh,
comments. either.
Charlene, I'm sorry. Yes, please go ahead.
No, really, she's
No,
like,
I don't have
she's
any
like,
comments either,
she's
but
like Big Brother in
ready,
there.
willing-
My
I'm ready,
apologies.
willing, and able to make a motion if you would like.
Yes, please go ahead. We have our 3 standard conditions, which are included on your staff report. So please go ahead if you'd like to make a motion.
Absolutely. I move to approve the amended site plan with conditions for the proposal to change the use of the unit from professional office to personal household service use based upon the fact that the application meets the necessary requirements and criteria for approval pursuant to the protective zoning bylaw with the standard conditions as noted in the staff report.
Thank you. Yes, Katie.
Madam Chair, I just wondered if you wanted to see if there was any public comment.
Oh, yes. I suppose we should do that. So we'll interrupt our motion to ask for public comment. My apologies. I don't see any hands raised. Yeah. Okay, so the
I'll
motion,
second it, Bob
the
Dibble.
motion is now seconded. So let's do a roll call vote. Art Spru,
Art Spur, approve.
Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Wertschafter,
Bob Wertschafter, approve.
Frank Scherer,
Frank Scherer, approve.
and Bob Dupas,
Bob Dubus, approve.
and Charlene Greenhalgh.
And Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
And this is Catherine Halper, and I also approve. Thank you so much, Mr. Riley.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. All right, the next item on our agenda is a pre-application site plan review. Just a reminder to the board and the public and the applicant that this is a pre-application. The purpose of this is for the board to take a look at what is proposed along with the applicant and review our site plan criteria and anything else that we usually require so that the applicant can get a better sense of what the board would like to see at the formal site plan review. So, Mr. Clark, would you like to go ahead?
Good evening. David Clark, of Clark Engineering, on behalf of Monomoy Community Services. Also here is Teresa Malone, who's the director, Attorney Litchfield, and Travis Babbitt, who's the architect.
Great, thank you.
So Monomoy Community Services is looking to expand at their existing location on Depot Road. 2 additions are proposed, one on the north side of the building and one on the east side of the building. They're also planning on removing the existing deck and replacing it. The expansion is to provide more room for the existing services they provide. They don't anticipate having any more staff with this expansion. As you'll see on the site plan, there's no parking on the site.
Right.
And no additional parking is required, in that their clientele can't drive.
Not yet, anyway.
This will need to go to HBDC as well as Zoning Board of Appeals. We do show preliminary drainage design for roof runoff. Obviously, there's no increase in parking areas, so no drainage provided for that. The property is already connected to the municipal sewer, so there's no issues with on-site sewage disposal. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I just, if I could just mention a couple of things. I think one thing we'll want to see at the formal is just, as you mentioned, you're saying there's no increase in staff. So we just want to look at the existing layout of offices and the proposed layout and just understand that there's no increase in the amount of occupied office space that would require additional staff and additional parking. So just that we can clearly see that, I'm sure we can on the floor plans that you've submitted. And can you show us also I think it's pretty clear the dark lines on the site plan are the proposed additions, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the lightly striped square to the north is the proposed new deck, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great.
There's also a second floor.
Yes.
Expansion that's within the footprint of the existing building.
Yes, okay.
Let me just,
I think David's getting ready to answer a question, so that's why I'm not going. Do you want me to go through the other board members, David, while you're looking?
I'm just looking at the floor plans, and
Yeah.
there is, on the second floor, an expansion of the office space. So
Okay, so we just need to carefully
we'll document
evaluate that
that on
and
the-
document it so we understand what it is and
But
whether or not in theory it would require, an expansion of the parking. Okay. I'm also just going to mention to the board, we don't have any determination as yet, but this is educational use, and there's a possibility that this site plan would fall under consideration under the Dover Amendment. That's a possibility. We don't know that as yet, but just a reminder to the board that if that's the case, we would do a limited or restricted site plan review. So with that, let's go to Arthur.
Would you clarify that?
I think, again, because it has not yet been determined, I don't really want to go too deeply into it, but if it is to be considered under the Dover Amendment, we just do a restricted site plan review, which means there's just certain essential items that we consider. And I believe parking and pedestrian access and vehicular access are aspects of that limited site plan review. Katie, did you want to make any comment on that?
Sure. The board may recall for a couple of properties with religious institutions that came before the board recently, it was determined by town council that a limited site plan was more appropriate, as under the Dover Amendment, you can only impose reasonable restrictions.
Well, this building has been here
A long time.
since '68, and I am a proud graduate of that building. And also
That's great.
one of the founding kids in that building. I think I was 17 at the time, 16 and 17, when that building was turned over to the hellions in this town to straighten them out. And I guess over almost 60 years, I guess it has done a pretty good job of doing that. And it's
great.
changed a lot as the times have changed. So,
Great, thank you. Great, so why don't we go on, Arthur?
Yeah, I only have a couple of comments. Again, this is pre-submission. There's two additions on the building. I'm assuming if you just put the roof runoff into dry wells, that's going to be more than fine to deal with something, a small addition that's on here. The deck is existing there already. It's pretty much the same square footage, so I don't see any issues associated with that creating any other issues. The only other thing is the addition to the east. I think it'll interfere with one outside light. Other than that, I don't know that there's any other things that I have to worry about.
Great, thank you, Arthur. Warren?
And just one point of clarification. You may have actually covered it by saying you're not planning to have any additional staff. But with the expansion, I was just curious as to whether there would be any expansion in the hours of operation, which would then create pick-up and drop-off kind of issues on traffic that would be different than what it's been since I've known it.
let me find out.
If I
could, Madam Chairman, Bill Litchfield here on behalf
Sure,
of the
please go
MCS.
ahead. Yes.
And I just spoke with Director Malone, and no, there's no contemplated change in hours of operation.
Very good. Thank you very much. No other comments. I think it's a great project.
Thank you. Bob Wertschaf.
Yeah, I don't really have any comments. I just note that the two additions are probably going to have to comply with the new energy code. I'm sure your architect knows that, so. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Frank?
No comments.
Thank you. Bob Dubus?
I have plenty of comments about that building, but I don't think anybody wants to hear them. And I hope everybody knows that that was one of the town's blacksmith shops in the beginning.
No, I didn't know that.
See, you learned something new today about
That's
Chatham.
great. I love hearing
And
those
unfortunately,
things.
us kids ripped it down, and that was a shame. There was nothing in it, though.
Yeah.
So, no, I wish it long and healthy, and hopefully it prospers a little better. It's done a great job. I'm a full supporter of it.
MCS feels very confident that having dealt with certain students in 1968, 69, maybe Mr. Greenhalgh as well, that it can continue to do well.
So, no, I'm in favor of what they're doing.
Great, great. And Charlene, do you have any comments or, again, this is a pre-application, just letting.
Other than being married to one of those little hellions, no, I have no comment.
Good. Great. Okay. So,
we're
yes,
not-
Dave.
There's no landscaping proposed at this time, so,
Yeah. We do, I mean, that is part of what our standard site plan review asks for. So if
we'll
there's.
prepare a plan that's not gonna show anything, that's the point I was trying to make.
Can you show some? Can some plans be put together for some landscape?
Madam Chairman,
Well,
Or is it not
there's a
possible?
very limited area to landscape over there because of the situation it's at.
Okay.
And the young people that
Oh, that's right.
climb around
That's right. Might not be so
the yard
useful.
and all over everything. I think that the landscaping that naturally occurs there is probably sufficient to hold everything. I'm not in favor of any fancy landscaping over there.
Okay.
But I think that we should put a positive note out to, where are they going next?
Well, what we would do is we would accept the pre-application, and then they'll come back to us with the formal.
I think, shouldn't we give a positive reflection to the?
To ZBA?
Or the ZBA or the HPDC?
They haven't asked for a recommendation.
Yeah, we have
in
not
this
yet,
case.
if I could, Madam Chairman, we've not yet filed with ZBA or HPDC. We will be doing so. We wanted to start with the pre-application with you. Certainly, when the time comes, we would appreciate positive comments, but we're not quite at that stage yet.
Yeah.
When it's there, I think that if you would need one, I think that you could go to staff, and I think that all of us would agree to let staff put a positive note in there for us. Is that all right?
It's, I
So they
don't
don't have to
understand.
come back to us.
Yes, although I'm going to say I don't know that it's part of our standard procedure because in general that it pertains to driveways in the Conservancy District. So I don't know that the ZBA will be asking for our recommendation one way or the other. And I see Katie nodding to confirm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I do think it will have to come back for a formal, just based on our bylaw, but again, it will come back, basically with the plan, I'm assuming as it is, or, with minimal changes. And
Well,
Yes.
as a former.
as a formal,
Former zoo person, I'm just trying to step it up a little.
Yeah. Yes. So what we would need is, we would need a motion to accept the pre-application. Yes, oh, Katie, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, under a pre-application conference, the board also determines whether or not a
Oh,
site
yes.
visit is needed or whether or not they feel a public hearing is necessary.
Thank you for the reminder. So I don't know that we need a formal vote. Let me just ask the board, do we need a site visit? I agree. I don't think we need a site visit.
I see it almost every day when I drive by.
Yeah. And do we need a public hearing? Yeah, I agree. So I think the board, the consensus of the board is that we do not need a site visit or a public hearing. Thank you for reminding me. So now, may I have a motion to accept the pre-application?
Madam Chair, it's Charlene. I move that we accept the pre-application.
Thank you. May I have a second to that motion?
I second.
Thank you. So Art Spru,
Art Sprue, approved.
Warren Chain,
Warren Chain approved.
Bob
Bob
Wertschafter,
Wirtschafter, approve.
Frank Scherer,
Frank Scherer approved.
Bob Dupas,
Bob Dubus, approved gladly.
Charlene Greenhalgh,
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
and this is Catherine Halpern. I also approve. So I think you have 4 months to submit the formal. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. No, I think that's, do we have anything more on the agenda? I don't think so. So unless there's any comments from the public, thank you so much for coming. Or any other comments from the board, I'd actually ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Charlene?
Oh,
Sorry, I had to unmute. I move that we adjourn the meeting.
thank you so
I
much.
second it.
Art Spru,
Art Sprue, approved.
Warren Chain,
Warren Chain approved.
Bob Wirtschafter,
Bob Wirtschafter, approve.
Frank Scherer,
Frank Scherer approved.
Bob Dupas,
Bob Dubus, approved.
Charlene Greenhalgh,
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
and this is Catherine Halpern. I also approve that we adjourn tonight's meeting, and please let's note the time as looks like 5:27 in the evening. That might be a record.
Not yet, not yet.
Not,
yet.
that's not our
Not- it's
shortest
not a
meeting.
record yet.
Not a record.
We've already,
So thank you, everyone, for participating, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Good night, all.